Have you ever felt a quiet current pulsing beneath the roar of life, a hidden force that stirs when you refuse to join the chorus of noise? Picture yourself standing at the edge of a crowded gathering, music thumping, voices colliding, each person fighting for attention. Yet in the center of that storm, it is the one who holds their tongue, who lets the moment breathe, who turns inward instead of shouting outward, who claims the room without uttering a word. That is the magnetism of silence, a presence so potent that others lean in, drawn by curiosity and respect. From the first breath of this idea, feel a tension rise in your chest, a hunger to discover how something as simple as stillness can reshape the trajectory of your life. Let us journey into this realm where silence is alive, where each pause becomes a statement, each withheld word a demonstration of power. As you listen, allow your pulse to synchronize with a deeper rhythm, one that hints at wisdom beyond reaction and invites you to taste the freedom that comes when you refuse to be pulled by every impulse. Recall a moment when anger flared, maybe a harsh message blinking on your screen or a cutting remark in a conversation. In that instant, your heart thundered, your mind raced, and your fingers hovered over the keys, or your tongue itched for a retort. Now rewind that scene and imagine inserting a pause. You breathe, feel the tension in your shoulders dissolve slightly, and simply hold the silence between what was said and what you might say. That fraction of time, that pregnant pause, is your shield. It transforms chaos into choice. Instead of fueling the fire, you become the calm center, the one unshaken by the emotional whirlwind. In that silence, you reclaim authority over your response. You refuse to be a puppet dancing on the strings of provocation. You prove to yourself that you are not the sum of fleeting feelings, but a conscious being who chooses when and how to engage. That is the first taste of the power of silence, and it feels electric, as though you have discovered a secret door to a room filled with possibility. Silence is not simply the absence of noise. It is the fertile ground where clarity and creativity germinate. Imagine stepping away from the endless scroll, notifications vying for your attention like beggars at a gate, and sitting with nothing but the rhythm of your own breath. At first, your mind protests. Fragments of tasks, worries, desires swirl like restless spirits demanding release. But if you hold the space, if you resist the urge to escape into another distraction, a subtle shift occurs. Thoughts slow, false urgencies lose grip, and beneath the clamor you discover a quieter voice, one that speaks in whispers of insight. You begin to see solutions to dilemmas that once felt insurmountable. You reconnect with values that had been swamped by external demands. You unearth long-forgotten dreams and buried strengths. In that sacred silence, you meet your true self, stripped of masks and expectations. This encounter fuels self-awareness and ignites transformation. Each moment of stillness becomes an invitation to explore the landscape of your inner world, and in doing so, you equip yourself to navigate the outer world with greater wisdom. Consider the influence you wield when you speak after such silence. Words spoken lightly scatter away like leaves in the wind, but words delivered from calm conviction land like stones dropped into a pond, sending ripples far and wide. People sense when your voice emerges from a place of depth rather than reaction. They notice the absence of filler, no habitual or offhand comment, but instead a measured articulation of something meaningful. In a team meeting or a heated debate, your voice becomes the anchor. Others pause, lean forward, eager to catch the essence of what you share. The impact is not born of volume or theatrics. It arises from authenticity, discernment, and timing. You learn that silence before speaking heightens the potency of every phrase. You carry the weight of intention, and your message resonates because it is rare and necessary. In this way, silence amplifies your influence, guiding conversations towards substance rather than noise. Yet, silence is not passive surrender. It is an act of fierce engagement with reality. When you choose to listen more than speak, you gather intelligence, subtle shifts in tone, fleeting expressions, unspoken emotions. You witness what others reveal unconsciously, the currents beneath their words, the vulnerabilities they mask. This attunement grants you empathy and insight. You understand motivations, anticipate needs, and connect on levels beyond surface exchange. In negotiations, you detect hesitations and seize openings. In relationships, you sense unvoiced longings and respond with compassion. In leadership, you cultivate trust by showing that you truly hear. Silence becomes your instrument for perceiving truth rather than projecting assumptions. It sharpens your awareness and deepens your capacity to act with precision. Far from retreating, you engage more fully with the human tapestry, reading between lines and discovering what lies beneath. Imagine constructing your daily life around this principle. You wake before dawn, the world hushed in anticipation of sunrise. No frantic rush to check messages, no assault of headlines demanding your gaze. Instead, you sit in quiet, feeling your breath, tuning into the rhythm of existence within you. You set an intention to speak only when it advances truth, to listen to understand rather than to reply, to move with deliberate calm. As the day unfolds, challenges arise. Someone cuts you off in traffic, criticism lands at your feet, distractions beckon with tempting chimes. Yet you carry that morning's silence within you like a sacred talisman. You breathe, pause, observe. You resist the lure of reactive noise. In that space, you choose responses aligned with your values. A measured word instead of a snap judgment. A composed gesture instead of a defensive posture. Your presence shifts the atmosphere. People around you feel the tension ease. They lean into your calm and find themselves more open, more receptive. By stewarding silence, you transform ordinary interactions into moments of grace. There is an inner economy at play. Every word you withhold saves energy, preserves focus, and protects your peace. Think of your attention as currency. Throw it away on trivial chatter or invest it in silence, and the returns compound. Each time you resist the urge to comment on every passing thought or to react to every provocation, you hoard mental stamina for what truly matters. You avoid the regret of harsh words that linger as scars. You sidestep the exhaustion of emotional skirmishes that drain without victory. Seneca's wisdom rings. Life is ample if you master time, but wasted words steal those precious moments. By practicing silence, you guard your inner treasury, ensuring that you have reserves for creativity, joy, and purposeful action. You learn that choosing not to speak is sometimes the boldest move, a declaration that you value inner harmony above fleeting noise. Silence also bestows a cloak of mystery that draws others toward you. When you do not clamor for attention, you shine with a quiet confidence that intrigues. People wonder, what does this person think? What depths lie beneath that composed exterior? Their curiosity becomes an opening for genuine connection. When you finally share, it feels like a gift. Your words are received as precious, carrying the weight of intention and sincerity. In personal relationships, this dynamic fosters trust. Loved ones sense that you are present, that your listening is wholehearted, that your responses are measured by care rather than habits of reaction. In new encounters, your silence creates an aura of intrigue that invites deeper conversation. You become someone whose company feels restorative rather than draining, because you give space and demand no noise. Through silence, you cultivate presence, and presence becomes the foundation of authentic bonds. Yet, embracing silence demands courage. The world equates noise with value. Who speaks loudest must be most important. Social media rewards rapid reactions, pushing you to opine on every trend. In gatherings, people mistake silence for weakness or disinterest, pressuring you to fill gaps with small talk. Choosing silence resists these norms. It requires standing firm when others expect noise, trusting that your quiet holds weight. It means tolerating the initial discomfort of stillness, feeling restless when there is no external stimulus to chase. But in that discomfort lies revelation. You discover patterns of thought that usually go unnoticed. You confront fears that hide behind busy distractions. You realize how often you let external noise dictate your inner state. Each moment of silent courage builds resilience. You prove to yourself that peace is not fragile, but forged through deliberate practice. Over time, silence ceases to feel like absence and becomes a presence, more alive than any clamor. In moments of conflict, silence wields unique power. Picture a heated disagreement where voices escalate, emotions flare, and each side vies to be heard. You stand within this storm, hearing the cacophony but choosing not to add to it. You breathe, acknowledging the tension but refusing to be consumed. Your calm unsettles the pattern. Others slow, glance at you, sense that escalation might be unnecessary. Your silence invites reflection. It signals that you are listening fully, not preparing a rebuttal, but open to understanding. In that gap, dialogue can shift from confrontation to connection. When you eventually speak, your words come not as weapons but as bridges, crafted from the intelligence gathered in stillness. Even if the conflict persists, your stance ensures you navigate it with dignity and clarity. Silence becomes both fortress and tool, protecting your integrity and guiding the exchange toward resolution rather than further discord. Silence also deepens your creativity and problem-solving. In quiet moments, insights surface, a melody, an idea, a strategy that eluded you amid noise. Many great thinkers, artists, and innovators have credited their breakthroughs to periods of solitude and silence. When you allow your mind to wander without interruption, subconscious associations emerge, connecting dots you never realized were related. You tap into intuition shaped by experience but only audible when external demands recede. Embrace these intervals: a walk without podcasts, a pause before replying to an email, an undisturbed hour each day to simply be with your thoughts. In that silent space, unexpected possibilities arise. You learn to trust the subtle nudges of inner guidance, making decisions aligned with deeper purpose rather than reactive impulse. Silence, in this sense, is the crucible where imagination and wisdom fuse. Consider the spiritual dimension. Across traditions, silence is revered as gateway to transcendence. Whether in meditation, prayer, or contemplative practice, silence invites you beyond conditioned patterns into a sense of unity with something greater. Even if you do not frame it in religious terms, moments of profound stillness can evoke awe, gratitude, and connection to life's mystery. In these depths, your ego's voice quiets and you glimpse a larger context where individual concerns shrink and compassion expands. This perspective nourishes humility and fuels meaningful action. You act not from egotistic drive, but from alignment with values that honor interconnectedness. Silence, then, becomes the source of a compassionate power that transforms how you engage with others and the world. How then do you integrate silence into a life shaped by demands and obligations? Begin with intention. Commit to pockets of quiet each day, perhaps 5 minutes at dawn before the world asserts itself, where you simply breathe and observe. Perhaps a pause before each meal, a moment to notice flavors and gratitude. When overwhelmed, give yourself permission to step aside. Close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, and return with renewed clarity. Practice listening. In conversations, focus wholly on the other person's words and emotions, resisting the urge to formulate your response immediately. Notice how this deep listening often leads to more meaningful replies. At night, before sleep, review your day in silence. Where did you speak from impulse, and where did you speak stillness? What did you learn about your triggers, your strengths? Over weeks and months, these small acts cultivate a silent muscle memory. When pressure rises, your habit of pausing activates instinctively. Silence becomes not an effort, but your natural ground state. As you weave silence into your life, observe how your relationships evolve. You may find fewer superficial interactions and more profound exchanges. You discover that people confide in you because they feel truly heard. You offer insights that resonate because they stem from genuine understanding. You set boundaries gracefully, without drama, because your calm asserts itself more effectively than any heated argument. You lead with presence rather than projection, inspiring others through example. You negotiate from strength, not fear. You navigate uncertainty with steadiness, trusting your inner compass. In this way, silence enriches every dimension: mental resilience, emotional intelligence, creativity, relationships, leadership, and even sense of purpose. Yet the journey is ongoing. There will be moments when old habits tug you toward noise, anxiety pushing you to check your phone, social pressure beckoning you to speak up prematurely, boredom craving distraction. Recognize these as invitations to recommit to silence. Each time you notice the pull and choose stillness, you reinforce your practice. Celebrate small victories. The moment you refrained from sending that impulsive message. The time you listened in full silence instead of interrupting. The instant you sat alone with your thoughts instead of escaping into noise. These victories accumulate, transforming your identity from someone at the mercy of impulses to someone anchored in intentional calm. Imagine, then, the horizon ahead, a life where silence is not occasional retreat, but the foundation upon which you build action, where your inner sanctuary remains accessible even amid storms, where each word you utter carries the weight of considered intention, where your presence radiates a quiet strength that draws others and fosters genuine connection, where your creativity flows from a wellspring of clarity and your decisions align with deepest values, where you navigate challenges with a steady heart, unmoved by trivial provocations, where you cultivate empathy by listening deeply and express compassion through measured, heartfelt responses. In this life, silence is both your refuge and your launchpad, a paradoxical force that liberates and empowers you to live more fully. And so, as this voice draws to a close, feel the invitation lingering. Lean into the silence that waits within you. Let each breath remind you of the power in stillness. When the next opportunity arises to react, pause. When a moment of quiet calls, answer it. When you sense the urge to fill a gap with noise, resist it, and honor the space instead. Over time, you will awaken to layers of self-awareness you never imagined, unlock creative potentials, and build connections rooted in authenticity. You will stand tall in the face of turmoil, carry serenity through life's ups and downs, and discover that silence is not absence, but presence incarnate. And once you taste this power, you will hunger for more stillness, more clarity, more depth. You will realize that the journey into silence is endless, each step revealing new vistas of understanding. Embrace this path and watch as your world transforms in ways words alone could never convey, because silence is alive with power, and when you embrace that power, you become unstoppable,